Hello, welcome back. My name is Amber, and in this video today I want to continue where we left off in some of the previous series where we were talking about how posture has an impact on pelvic health. And in particular, we know that when we have aligned posture with the rib cage stacked neutrally right over the pelvis, then we can allow the diaphragm and the pelvic floor to work together with each breath cycle. And so today I want to take it a little further and talk about, well, how do we actually breathe? If you are a yoga practitioner, you've probably heard a lot of the cues in the yoga class to belly breathe or take a deep belly breath. I was even one to say this quite a lot in my classes before I started to understand anatomy a little bit better. And the thing is that when we give focus to belly breathing, a lot of practitioners tend to extend the abdominals, like really to put effort there, extending the abdominals. And first of all, that doesn't actually bring in a full breath because we need the rib cage to open in order for the lungs to draw air in. And also what that can do when you're putting effort and force to deeply belly breathe, we're putting a lot of intra-abdominal pressure into the abdominal cavity. And this can be quite impactful, especially if you have diastasis for women that are postpartum or anyone who has pelvic floor issues. It can put a lot of pressure and stress to the pelvic floor. So we want to reframe the way that we breathe, and rather focusing on belly breathing, we would like to now shift it to rib cage breathing. And this is very different from chest breathing, which is quite shallow. Rib cage breathing, if you think about it, when you take the inhale, the breath comes in, the rib cage is going to open in all directions, like the opening of an umbrella. So you can feel the rib cage opening to the side, forward, and even behind you, even in that hard to reach place between the shoulder blades. So we feel the whole rib cage open and expand, and that is what allows the lungs to draw the air in. And we know that as the rib cage is expanding, the diaphragm is flattening, it's descending down, and that's what puts a little pressure to the abdominal organs, which allows the belly to extend. And if pelvic floor is nicely toned, pelvic floor is going to receive that pressure and it's going to be able to regulate the intra-abdominal pressure very well with the respiratory diaphragm. And for that to take place optimally, we know we need aligned posture and also to be taking nice full rib cage breaths or diaphragmatic breath, or sometimes in yoga it's called a full yogic breath. So let's give it a try. Let's go down to the mat. So as we're lying down on the mat now, let's position ourselves so that the feet are on the floor, your knees are vertical. If you like, you can even walk the feet a little wider than the hips and let the knees rest in towards one another for a constructive rest. And then we need to check our alignment. So let's see if our pelvis is neutral. Remember, you can always place your hands to the low pelvis and kind of feel that the hip points and the pubic bone are in one plane, that you would be able to set a plate right on top of the palms. And if it's not, maybe do a few rocks until you can find that neutral pelvis. Then pressing the rib cage into the ground. For ladies, this is right around where the bra strap is. So pressing that point into the ground, spreading through the shoulder blades, relaxing the shoulders towards the floor, softening the throat, even closing the eyes. Maybe giving a gentle nod of the chin so we can lengthen the back of the neck. And exhaling everything out. And as the next breath comes in, allowing yourself to be fully present, allowing the body to become heavy and supported by the floor, and just observing your natural cycle of breath. Noticing each inhale and exhale. Noticing your own rhythm of breath. And noticing which part of your body moves as the breath comes in and as the breath goes out. And now let's start to introduce this full yogic breath or rib cage breathing. And the first place I like to start is just with our awareness right under our hands. You can even shift the hands a little bit so you're resting just towards the low belly. And notice if you can feel a very subtle rise and fall of the belly without any effort on your part. It's just happening naturally. Notice if the belly starts to rise gently with the inhale. If the belly starts to fall towards the spine with the exhale. And if it doesn't, then that's probably one of your starting places. We want to move away from that paradoxical breath and come back to this functional breath where you can feel a slight rise of the belly on the inhale and a slight fall of the belly on the exhale. And remember, that's no effort on your part. So now we want to start to invite the breath in where we are utilizing the capacity of the rib cage. So if it helps, you can also place your hands just slightly to the sides of the rib cage, holding maybe around the lower ribs. And as the breath comes in, see if you can expand the rib cage towards the sides, towards your hands. And as you exhale, the rib cage returns to neutral. So each inhale, feel that you're breathing into the palms, and each exhale, allowing the rib cage to return to neutral. And you can start to visualize that the rib cage is expanding and opening like an umbrella as the breath comes in, and gently closing or returning to neutral as the breath goes out. Think of creating space between the ribs with each breath. Think of breathing through the rib cage, expanding in all directions, above you, to the sides, and even into the ground below. And then when you feel you have that rhythm, you may like to place one hand right over the chest center and one over the belly. And now let's see if we can experience this wave of breath. So as the inhale comes in, feel the rib cage expand in all directions and a slight rise to the belly. And as the breath goes out, the belly starts to return to neutral, the rib cage returns to neutral. So with each cycle of breath, experiencing this wave of the inhale and the exhale that wash over the body. And sometimes it can be nice to even add in a visualization, as if you could see what's happening in your body. So as the breath comes in, we feel the diaphragm under the rib cage expanding, spreading, and that's helping to extend the abdominal organs with the pelvic floor receiving that breath. And as you exhale, the pelvic floor, the belly, the diaphragm, the rib cage all return to neutral. So with each wave of breath, picturing how the diaphragm and the pelvic floor are working together. Remembering that the diaphragm and the pelvic floor mirror each other. Feeling this wave of breath washing over the body and washing out. And taking 2 more breath cycles here. And as you finish your last exhale, you can release the arms down by the sides. Maybe walk your feet in slightly, and then just turning towards one side and helping yourself to come back to a seated position. Okay, and that completes our exercise for today. And you can do this breath, of course, lying down. I find it's easier to find the alignment of the rib cage and the pelvis, as well as to feel the movement of the breath. But you can also do it sitting up and just stacking yourself so the rib cage is nicely over the pelvis. You can experiment with hands to the side of the rib cage, or even crossing the palms over to feel the ribs, or even taking a belt can be really nice and wrapping it around the rib cage to feel the expansion. So I wish you successful rib cage breathing, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you.